All right. Now, I understand why everyone hated Brady the player. I get it. He was winning all the
Yeah.
rings. What I don't get is where is all the hate for Tom Brady, the broadcaster, coming from? I want to show you a
Yeah.
string of hateful, mean tweets just rolling in. I saw these all over my timeline. Nat, here's one from Chase Mitchell, a hater. Underrated thing about when Tom Brady was playing is you barely ever had to hear him talk. Oh, Chase Mitchell, we don't want to see you tweet. How's that sound?
Yeah.
But there was more, Natalie. Michael Tracy says, Tom Brady stinks as a big game announcer. He's fine for like the second or third Fox slot. Bring back Greg Olsen. Oh, Michael Tracy, we don't give a damn about what you say because you have two first names. And it goes on, Natalie. Jake Weaver says, they took Greg Olsen from us, and they make us listen to Tom Brady. I will not forget what Fox has done. Well, Jake Weaver, they didn't take Greg Olsen from us, bruh. He's still broadcasting. He's just not on the A team because, you know, he's Greg Olsen, and we're talking about the GOAT, Tom Brady. I mean, what are these people's problems, Natalie?
I don't know, and you gotta dislike a man with two first names as their entire name, right? I mean, no, these guys taking to Twitter, it's funny. Like, for example, you know, Brady did say something kind of funny. He was mentioning it was like Eckler or whatever with the Commanders made a catch, but he's had fumble trouble because he has small hands. Like Brady just like he puts these players on blast. He tells it how it is, but it's like he may not have, and this is where I was thinking he doesn't have, you know, the television poise yet. Not to say that that's not going to develop over time. I mean, I think he's going to be great over time, but he might not have the television poise yet. But I want to hear from Tom Brady on these games. I actually started listening to the game, watching the game earlier, and I didn't know it was him until they came on camera. And maybe that's just me being ignorant, but you know, they came on camera and I was like, oh my God, that's freaking Tom Brady. That's awesome. I didn't even know it was him. So there wasn't any red flag drawn to what he was saying in my book. I was just like, listening to this guy is funny. And I want to hear from someone like Tom Brady about these games.
Yeah, I always said, too, other than Travis Thomas, you can't really trust anyone with two first names as a full name. You just can't do it. I completely agree with you. I think the poise, though, and the polish will come with reps and with time, right? I mean, no one knows that more than you. I think you do a tremendous job in that. And I have a lot of respect, not just for you, but for everyone who calls games, you know, be it play-by-play or color, because I dabbled in that stuff early in my career when I was still trying to figure out my route or my path as a broadcaster, and it was not for me. This is where I belong. I'm a studio gangsta. I belong in a studio talking that talk. And so I've always had a lot of respect for the prep work and everything that goes into what you do, Natalie, because half the time I noticed I would butcher names. I was the absolute worst at name pronunciation, just absolutely awful. And even though I'm good at prep, I didn't care enough to look at a player's, like, where they grew up and stuff like their favorite subject in school. Like, all these things about every player on the roster. That just wasn't for me. So I have a lot of respect not only for what you do, but what for Tom does. And I just think over time, right? I mean, you could speak to this. Over time, you get better and better and more comfortable, don't you?
Yeah, and the beauty of being an analyst is you're an expert of the game, and there's no one who knows the game better, in my opinion, than Tom Brady. I mean, all it is. And, I did this recently where I had to fill in as an analyst, and the prep work, you can cut back a little bit on the prep work because all you have to do is watch the game, analyze the play, why a player decided to do that. And there's no better person to analyze those kind of judgment calls than someone who has essentially been in their shoes. Right. So, I wasn't a hockey player. I can't speak to why someone takes a penalty or whatever. It's one of those things where it's like, I can't put myself in their shoes, but Brady certainly can. And that's why I want to hear from him. And I think it's excellent that he's doing this. It was a shoo-in to know that his career would continue post-football going this way because Yeah, I mean, he carried New England for so many years, and maybe it's biased from me, but he's a guy who was labeled the GOAT, and I want to hear someone who had such a successful football career analyzing football now. It's like I feel like I can learn a lot just by listening to him.
I agree. Listen, I'm actually a fan of Tony Romo too. I know he gets a lot of hate.
Oh yeah,
But he
yeah,
brings some energy to the game, and I do like that about him. And to your point, I would much rather, from a player perspective, I would much rather hear from Tom
yeah,
Brady, who was head and
yeah,
shoulders better than Tony Romo. And Tony Romo was a fine player, but he was nothing. I mean, he
yeah,
couldn't hold Tom Brady's gym bag as a player. So, to your point, even though I like Romo's presentation and his energy,
yeah.
and he has more reps than Tom, I still
Right.
what you're saying is completely true, because I would much rather hear Tom's perspective because of the player he
Mhm.
was, right?
Right. No, and Tony Romo, I mean, he certainly like he called the game pretty well tonight. It was fun listening to him and his expertise, but I'm excited that Tom Brady gets to call a game that Patrick Mahomes, might three-peat on. It's going to be
Oh,
interesting to hear how he can react just
yeah.
genuinely in the moment. Yeah, I mean, you got to respect him, and I think that's going to be kind of cool. That's the part that I feel like I'm most looking forward to in a
Yep.
way is hearing
Yep.
Tom Brady call the Super Bowl game with Pat Mahomes. So that's going to be cool.
Well, listen, Brady beat him with the Patriots to get to
Yeah.
a Super Bowl, and then Brady beat him in the Super Bowl with the Bucks. So he always
Yeah.
has that. So if I'm Brady calling the game, I got no problem with it. Hey man, three-peat. Congratulations. I still beat you when it counts, son. And he got Mahomes early too, which was smart. He got him early on.
Right.
Didn't have to worry about this
Yeah.
monster we're all dealing with now.